Hello, and welcome to the St. Vincent College Physics Information Session. My name is Donna Edmonds, and I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admission at St. Vincent. We're glad that you're joining us today, and we hope today's presentation gives you a good overview of the physics major that is part of the Herbert W. Boyer School of Natural Sciences, Mathematics, and Computing. Joining us today are two faculty members, Dr. Daniel Vandenberg, Associate Professor of Physics, and Father Michael Antonacci, Assistant Professor of Physics. Also joining the panel is a graduate of St. Vincent College, Joey Mercinick. Joey majored in physics at St. Vincent and is currently a graduate student at UCLA. We have two current students with us today. Well, soon to be graduates, Nathan Porter and Sarah Wozniak. You may submit a question anytime throughout the presentation by clicking on the Q&A button, which may be found at the top or bottom of your screen, depending on your device. We will get to your questions during the second part of our presentation. It is now my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Daniel Vandenberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session, information about the physics program at St. Vincent College. We are going to begin with a short overview of our physics program and the physics major, and then we'll open it up for questions. So physics is the study of the universe and the world around us at the most fundamental level. So we ask questions about the world around us, the physical world. How does it work? What is it made of? And what can we do with it? And it spans everything from the structure of the universe to subatomic particles, to nanotechnology, advances in optics and electronics, and even medical physics. So the broad knowledge base and skill set of physicists make them in high demand. So if you're thinking about a career in physics, we think St. Vincent College is a great place to start. So why study physics at St. Vincent College? Well, you probably already know that St. Vincent is a small liberal arts and Catholic science, liberal arts and science college. That in itself makes it a very, gives us great advantages, gives great advantages to our students. But St. Vincent is one of the few such colleges that has a rigorous and comprehensive physics program that is taught exclusively by PhD physicists. We offer courses that institutions of comparable size simply don't offer, such as our condensed matter physics course and an optics laboratory. So physics majors at St. Vincent also have dedicated spaces where they can do studying, they can do research, build things, collaborate with their colleagues, and even just relax and take it easy for a while. Because physics is such a broad topic, we encourage students to explore their interests by personalized independent study courses in advanced topics. So for example, if a student is interested in astrophysics or meteorology or geology, we design personalized independent study courses that are tailored to the students and their interests. One of the aspects that we really try to emphasize in this program is physics research. It is becoming more and more important that students have some kind of research under the belts before they graduate and start looking for jobs and graduate schools. So all of our physics majors must complete a research project and before they graduate. So our students lead these projects depending upon their interests and their abilities, and we design projects that they are able to do and they can complete before they graduate. So some of the projects that some of our students have been interested in and have undertaken over the past few years include nuclear magnetic resonance imaging, astrophysics projects, so studying black holes and distant powerful galaxies, robotics and other electronics projects. And we're also building a cosmic ray shower detector that is led by our students. So there are many, many other projects that we can talk about a little bit later that our students are leading here. So we also encourage our students to expand their research experiences through research projects in the summer. So for example, the National Science Foundation offers programs across the country at various laboratories and institutions where students can get paid over the summertime to learn more about what interests them. And in fact, some of these opportunities have led to careers and graduate school opportunities for many of our students. So our projects are designed not only to simply have research to take care of that for students and for them to learn the research, but we try to focus on publication quality science so that our students can actually get published before they graduate. So for example, just a few weeks ago, we published a paper in one of the top astrophysics journals that includes 4 of our physics majors and alumni. So our students get published, and that really helps when looking for jobs or graduate schools. You can also get funded to do research in physics. So we have work study programs and grant opportunities. And so you can study and do research at the same time you get paid. So you don't have this conflict between having to find a job just to make money and doing the things that you really like. You can do them both at the same time. So where do our graduates go after they leave St. Vincent? Well, about half of our students go on to graduate school. That means that they will work for advanced degrees, usually a PhD, and then they go on and do fundamental research in physics and related fields, such as astronomy or physics, astrophysics, engineering, or medical physics. And we're very proud to say that our students have a 100% acceptance rate to graduate schools. Some of our recent graduates have gone to some of the places that you see here. In fact, joining us today, as you heard, is Joey, who is a 2018 graduate, and he is currently a graduate student at UCLA. So if you have any questions for Joey, you can ask him about that. Many of our students also go on directly from school to jobs in private industry and government. So you can see some of the places listed here that some of our recent physics grads are working right now. We also keep very close contact with our alumni, and we see how they're doing, and they're doing very well at these places. And they watch out for our students as well. So it has happened that some of our alumni have actually hired some of our students at their jobs because they know that being a physics major here allows them to be, prepares them for the jobs that they might undertake. In addition to the physics major, we also offer a physics education major, which is fairly rare for an institution like ours. So physics teachers are in extremely high demand across the country. In fact, a large fraction of the physics teachers in our region are graduates of our program. And in this picture, you can see Nate, who's joined us today. He's a graduate in 2020 of the physics education major, and he'd be happy to tell you more about that program. Finally, I wanted to say a few things about the physics community at St. Vincent College. So you might be concerned that if you don't go to a very big research university, you might be missing out on some of the opportunities and some of the close contacts and friendships that you might make with people with common interests. But St. Vincent College is really the best of both worlds. It's a small college that is devoted to undergraduate teaching. The physics professors pay personal attention to the students and help guide them through the undergraduate process. But our physics program is also very large for a school like ours. So there are plenty of students that you'll make friends with that will help you through your 4 years of undergraduate study. And they're friendships that will probably last you through your lifetime. So with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Okay, Thank you, Dr. Vandenberg. That was a wonderful overview of the physics department and all the things we have available to our students. So audience, now's the time to start getting your questions into us. Feel free to do that and we'll get to those as quick as we can. To get us started, I do have a question here coming in from Rachel, and this is going to go out to Father Michael, at least to start. So Father Michael, Rachel wants to know, what can you do with a physics major?
Sure. Actually, one major benefit to studying physics is that it prepares you for a lot of interdisciplinary work. For example, physics majors are in high demand in data analysis and also in growing fields of material science and biophysics and medical imaging. So one thing that I did with my major, actually, from St. Vincent, graduating as a physics major, was to go on and study MRI physics. So everybody is familiar with MRI, used all the time in hospitals for diagnostic imaging and also for research and exploratory imaging. But specifically, I went to the University of North Carolina and joined a group that's working with a novel contrast agent, xenon gas, which is inhalable and able to be used to image specific tissues in the body that are not very easy to image with traditional MRI. So we were able to look at very specialized tissues, specifically brown adipose tissue, which is something that the medical community thinks can be used to control diabetes and also obesity. And in addition, we were able to measure temperature of these tissues using xenon MRI. So all of that, though, is made possible by the fundamental understanding of the universe that's given by studying physics, and specifically in my case, doing it here at St. Vincent.
Wow, thank you. I had no idea that you could combine physics with medicine and lots of other things. So that's great. There's a lot of opportunities. I do have a question coming in here from Stephen, and this is going to go out to you, Joey. Thanks for joining us from California today. So Stephen wants to know, how hard is graduate school compared to undergraduate school? Do you feel that you were well prepared for graduate school?
Yeah, I feel like I was pretty prepared. And so this was something coming into grad school. Uh, I wasn't completely sure. But as I did get into grad school during the first year, like I did realize that I had a good background. And that came from a lot of my classes at St. Vincent. You can take they prepare you with a good math background through my research. I learned some good programming skills and some coding skills, which helped with my classes. And yeah, but I felt like I fit in pretty well.
Great, thank you. Here's a question coming in, and I'm going to give this one to Nate. Could you talk a little bit, Nate, about maybe some of the research that you were involved with as a student?
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. Actually, within the past year or so, I worked on a project with Father Michael here and Dr. Vandenberg. And we are in the beginnings of a long-term project at St. Vincent involving the detection of cosmic rays. And we work in a lot of different disciplines in physics and work together as a kind of like a colleague community. And it's been a really valuable experience for me, I think, because you know, I'm as Dr. Vandenberg was mentioning, a physics education student. So that's something like that you might not think of like as being like a teacher, that you get to, you know, get a lot of research experience as well. But I think that was really valuable experience for me, and it kind of indicates like that that the physics department here is like committed to real authentic experiences for you as a student, and like continuing those over time.
Great. Could you tell me a little bit about what actually did you do with the cosmic ray? You know, what was your research I don't know what that is.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, we're studying cosmic ray showers. The Earth is being constantly bombarded by these high energy particles from space, from our sun, from outside the solar system, even from outside the galaxy. And these particles interact with our atmosphere, and they break down into smaller particles and that are constantly raining on the surface of the Earth. And what we did, or are in the process of doing still, are actually building detectors to detect muons, which are a type of subatomic particle that are produced in these cosmic air showers. And so with these detectors, we can evaluate the energies of these particles, how frequently they're hitting the surface, and compare it to some things like the weather conditions in the atmosphere, and as well as like compare it with known energies, and we can use it to study other forms of radiation as well. So it's kind of a broad project, and it has a large scope, I guess. And hopefully it will be continuing with students in the future, and be like a long-term project for St. Vincent.
Wow, that's fascinating. And thank you for getting into the details a little bit more. I enjoy hearing that. And I'm wondering, Father Michael, can you talk a little bit about other projects that might be happening or that you're planning in your labs?
Sure. I have another project which kind of takes things I did in graduate school with MRI and makes them a little bit more portable and affordable. So typical MRIs in a clinical setting, of course, cost millions of dollars, use very high magnetic fields, lots of maintenance, etc. But we have another magnetic field all around us produced by the Earth, which is very convenient, and it's very homogeneous, which means it's good for doing MRI. So what we're working on in my lab is building an Earth field NMR spectrometer. And I have a student right now working with me who is, we've completed actually constructing the NMR spectrometer, and we're ready to do the testing and the characterization to optimize the signal. And then our next step is to begin doing measurements of temperature actually with Earth field NMR. And in the future, hope to be involved with some hyperpolarized media. There are a couple of new techniques, like very cutting edge techniques that are being used now by the medical imaging and chemistry community that I hope to port here to St. Vincent to do at our scale and give students access to cutting edge techniques in hyperpolarized media.
Wow, thank you. And Dr. Vandenberg, maybe if you could talk a little bit about any of the astronomy research at St. Vincent, and you mentioned a little bit about some publications that the students get to do, but I'm kind of guessing all of these things are helping support why our students are so successful when they graduate. So do you have anything to add about the astronomy research happening?
So what I mainly do is study the distant universe using telescopes around the world and in space. So for example, I use the Hubble Space Telescope and a number of other NASA satellites that are orbiting the Earth right now. They take pictures of the sky and different objects in different colors of light, ultraviolet light, X-rays, and infrared light that we can't see on the ground. And so we collect a lot of data, and there's a lot of information in that data about interesting objects in the sky. So one of the things we do is basically data mining of large data sets of information about objects in the sky. So a student this year who's graduating, going off to graduate school at North Carolina, is writing a paper now on the properties of black holes and distant galaxies. So it's really exciting and interesting stuff. So there are projects like that that will, I mean, the data that's pouring in right now is just enormous. And we are learning the computational techniques and the statistical techniques to analyze the data and squeeze new knowledge out of it to understand the universe.
Great. Thank you so much. I have a question coming in for you, Sarah. If you could talk maybe a little bit about what kind of academic support does the department offer for students studying physics? I mean, I'm sure students coming in are doing pretty well in math and science in high school, but I'm sure the transition to the college level may be, maybe a little bit challenging for some students. Is there any type of help or support available? Sarah, this question's for you. I'm not sure if she can hear me. Okay, we're going to move on to another question. So this one I'm going to send out to, actually, how about we have Nate talk a little bit more about the physics education program. If you can tell me a little bit about what you were doing in physics education.
Yeah, so as Dr. Vandenberg was mentioning earlier, St. Vincent is actually like one of the few colleges that offers a physics education major. So it's a combined kind of program where I am able to work with both the physics department at St. Vincent and the education department. And I feel like I got tremendously valuable experiences from both. Obviously, we heard some of the advantages of the physics component from Dr. Vandenberg earlier, but with the education department as well, I had a lot of opportunities to not only learn from PhD professors, which is similar to the physics department, but also work hands-on in schools or in the area. So actually like being able to teach to real students in physics. And also St. Vincent has a step-up enrichment program where they bring in homeschooled students, and the training teachers teach courses. So I was able to do that here at St. Vincent, and both my experience in physics and in education, I think combined has helped me to give kind of a broad set of skills. So personally, I'm not sure exactly if I want to be a teacher, at the high school level or middle school, which is kind of the typical track for education students, physics education students. But I feel definitely qualified to be able to do that, as well as qualified to go on to graduate school or work in other industry fields. So I feel like I've developed like a broad set of skills. And one of the things that I think is especially advantageous is that I've developed the ability, I think, to be able to communicate physics well. And in our society today, I think that that's as important as ever, more important than ever, to be able to understand the physics and be able to communicate it and convey it to maybe the general public that hasn't had that kind of training in physics.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that information with us. So if we have some students out there thinking maybe education is what they want to do and they enjoy physics, sounds like they probably will have an excellent opportunity to get hired and get a job because there's schools that need those physics majors or physics teachers. I'm going to send another question. This is coming in from Stephen. He wants to know, and this is going to go to Joey, what kinds of summer opportunities are there for physics majors? I know we were chatting a little bit before we started, and you mentioned that you got out to UCLA. You started as a summer program, maybe when you were still involved at St. Vincent, and that's how you ended up in grad school. So if you could talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah. So I actually had an internship at UCLA. It was a year or two before I actually came out here for grad school. And a big reason I was able to do that is because I knew my professors well, so I had you can get nice letters of rec if you have a good personal relationship with your professors. Because I had some research projects started early on in my physics career, that also helps. That because I had that initial research that you're able to get that internship. Um, and also you do get like some funding over that research. So it's nice. It's a good, the internship itself is, it's a even more research. So doing that, it just adds on to the research that you're getting during your undergrad. And you also, it's a big reason why I was able to come here for grad school. It's a nice connection as well.
Okay. So to get that internship, is it a competitive process? Did the faculty help you? I'm not really sure how that works for the physics area. How did you actually find out about that opportunity?
Oh, yeah, it's really competitive. Yeah, so there are a lot of people that apply for these things, so uh it is really competitive. But again, a big part of getting those is these letters of rec. So if you do have, uh, again, it was a good personal relationship with your professors that helps get into that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So it seems like that close personal connection that you make in maybe a little bit smaller school, but the department works really closely with you. And it seems like you guys are a tight-knit community in that physics department. Just looking at that picture of many of the students and the faculty, it sounds like a wonderful program. Here's a question coming in, and this is coming in from Will. He would like to know, Father Michael, what is it like to be a monk and a physicist?
I have to say that's an interesting experience because you're kind of working at the border between what most people perceive as being these two opposed schools, right? Coming at the world in terms of faith and coming at the world in terms of reason. And when you stand on the border between those two, or the perceived border between those two, usually the first response is kind of a silent, who is this guy? So it's a good experience. It's an opportunity to be almost an ambassador between the scientific community and between the religious and faith community. And it's usually a shock when you tell people that the two are not opposed. Right? It's an opportunity to be a living example of, look, we can understand creation and reality both from a perspective of faith and from a perspective of science and reason, and the two are not opposed. So it's an amazing experience to be at that kind of borderline.
Oh, great. Thank you. We're just going to have a couple more questions coming in, and I'm going to try to go back to Sarah. Sarah, we're going to try to get you back here. So the original question I had for you was to talk a little bit about the academic support maybe that would be available for students coming in doing a major in physics. I don't think it's going to work. I'm sorry, Sarah. We're not able to hear you. So perhaps Nate, maybe you could answer that question for us. If you could talk a little bit about the academic support that might be available to students.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the beneficial things about St. Vincent, I think in particular, is that a lot of your support, like for your classes, if you're struggling, can come directly from your professors, and that can be like a good opportunity to really get some straightforward help on specific class material. Is the professors are always available with office hours and by phone or email to be able to talk and ask questions, and so you can actually get that firsthand experience with the instructor. But additionally, St. Vincent has a lot of other supports, including tutoring, especially is very valuable. For physics, I know we have general physics tutors available almost every night of the week that can assist you through, if anything you're struggling with in the course. And as well, there's math tutors and tutors for every field, since it's, you'll be taking other classes as well, liberal arts. But yeah, especially with the physics, the tutors are obviously well trained and able to help you throughout the process. And then one thing that is new in the past couple of years is we have a physics CLP, or collaborative learning program, where it's kind of like a group tutoring session, sort of collaborative learning, where once a week a physics student prepares a group kind of review study session where students can come in and do extra practice with their physics and ask questions and just kind of work together and bounce ideas off each other, as well as the facilitator. And I've actually been the CLP facilitator for the past couple of years, so getting to help the students. And so that's another advantage, is when you get to be an upperclassman, you can kind of take up that role where you can help the younger students.
Okay, good. So there's some assistance there for students coming in if, they're not sure that their high school prepared them in physics as well as, some other students, they can get some help with that.
Absolutely.
So that's great. I have a question kind of as a follow-up. This one's going to go to Dr. Vandenberg. I know we heard a little bit about, what you can do with a physics major. What if you don't want to go to grad school and you want to get right into the workforce? Could you talk a little bit about some of the jobs and maybe the working in a government lab, or what some of our students have done in the past?
Yeah, sure. So again, about half of our students decided to go on to graduate school, but probably the second largest group are students that say, I'm done with school, but I really like science and technology, and I want to go on and get a job in something related to what I just learned about. So there are a wide variety of jobs in industry. Now, you may not necessarily be doing physics per se, but as Father Michael mentioned before, there are jobs related to computational aspects of jobs. There are laboratory types of jobs, engineering related jobs. So it's hard to pin it down to one thing, because physics is such a broad field. It's really applicable to many different job opportunities. Government laboratories also offer positions to many of our students. So so for example, we have some students who are working now at the Naval Research Laboratory in Washington, DC. They do both classified and unclassified projects for the U.S. Navy. And as I mentioned before, we keep close contact with our alumni, and we see how they're doing. And often they come to us asking if we'd like to send over some of our students who are looking for jobs. That kind of connection really helps our students a lot as well.
Okay, great. This one of our last questions I'm going to ask to our panelists, to the students and our graduate. The question is, what was your favorite part about being at St. Vincent? So Sarah, we're going to try you first, see if you can get in on this.
So I would say my favorite part is, was the community that like St. Vincent has. I made friends that I'm gonna have for the rest of my life. I've done things that I never thought I would do. I'm an athlete, so continuing my athletic career while maintaining my academics was really, really important to me. And it just made my whole experience at St. Vincent great.
So what sport did you participate in?
I played volleyball and track for a year. But.
Okay, so how did you manage the workload during your season? I can imagine a physics major, you're hitting the books pretty hard, and then you got to go to practice. And I mean, how did that work for you?
So the professors are very, very accommodating with athletes here. If we have to miss a class for a game, they're always available to help you with the material if you need it later. And like Nate was talking about, there are tutors available constantly. But it was the professors made it very easy to be a student athlete, and the coaches here prioritize academics. So we are student athletes, not athlete students, they always say. But coming to St. Vincent at a D3 level really made it possible to do both, which is what I really appreciate about St. Vincent.
Great. I'm glad you had a great experience. And Nate, how about you? What would you say, what was your favorite part of being a student at St. Vincent?
Yeah, I think what Sarah said about the community is definitely like the clear answer is that like everybody at St. Vincent is so close, and especially like within the physics department. I think that like some of my best friends, including people who have graduated in the past few years, we still keep in touch all the time, and even like with the professors and faculty too, you get to develop relationships with them too, and kind of become a good community in the department and across the campus. But in addition to that, I think like my education experience, like in general, was kind of very valuable. I think I was able to get like a unique experience studying physics, and like what Father Michael was talking about in a faith community as well. And you can kind of get two sides to the big questions that you talk about in physics and beyond, and it's interesting to see them come together. And I think by being at St. Vincent, I was able to experience that better than I could have anywhere else.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad you had a great experience, and good luck to you in the future as well. You
Thank
too,
you.
Sarah. Now, Joey, you're getting the last shot at this here. So what would you say, now you've been out of St. Vincent for 2 years and you're now at a large research institution, I guess. So what was your favorite part about being at St. Vincent College?
And so my answer might actually sound similar. So I would also say the community. I mean, I knew all the physics majors while I was there. We would always talk, especially the people like in your current year. You'll talk to them a lot, and you'll become good friends with them. Like we'd go to lunch together, dinner, study together, go to class, bowling, other, just fun activities outside of, academia. They're also supportive. So, for example, like I don't know, I like to sing, so like I would sing in front of some of my friends, and they were supportive of that. So, yeah, it really is a close-knit community. Even with the professors, like it made it more enjoyable to take like extra classes out, like within your department and outside of your department, because you could just go up to the professor in their office, be like, "Oh, hey, what is this class all about?" And everyone's just so nice. I mean, yeah.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad that sounds like everyone's had a really good experience, and we wish everyone the best of luck for sure, especially our 2 seniors who are graduating in just 2 days. So I would like to thank all of our panelists today. You have shared some wonderful information about the programs that we have available at St. Vincent College, and we are ready to connect our prospective students. We're ready to connect you with our panelists. So if you have any questions and you would like to reach out to us, please don't hesitate to do that. You can contact your admissions counselor or the admission office in general, and we can make sure that we connect you up with the appropriate people. So again, thank you for joining us today, and we do look forward to welcoming you to campus very soon.